Hey everyone, this is Tony Redmiles from OutSchool, and I'm recording our video for worksheet 1-1 for discovering pre-algebra, part 5, which is the geometry part of this class. Okay, so I'm going to do some of the things that I can do, that I can record on my screen record, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to switch over so you can see my hands as I do the measure with a protractor on this bottom part. So in the first part, it just asks how many degrees are in the following shape. Well, if you remember in class, we went over this a bit, and we said that a circle, if I make a cross inside, would have 490 degrees. If I add up all those 90 degrees, I'm going to get 360. So a circle equals 360, okay? So I'm just going to go through and do all of the circle ones since we have this going on right now. So a semicircle, I'm going to do that one, and I'm going to do a quarter circle. So a semicircle means half of the circle. So it would just be the top half of my circle above, which can only make 290 degrees, which means that a semicircle is 180 degrees. All right, so the next thing I want to look at is the quarter circle. So now I'm cutting out another part. A quarter means 1/4 of that circle, so I can only make a 90 degree, okay? So this one is 90 degrees. See how I cut that circle all up? All right, so the next thing I want to look at is my quadrilateral shapes. So remember, in a square or a rectangle, I have straight lines all connected together, and all of these are 90 degrees. And because of that, that means there's a total of 360 degrees in a rectangle. Now, if I cut that rectangle in half and just take half of it, it's a triangle. So half of 360 degrees would be a triangle, which is 180, because it's half of the 360. So it's kind of like my semicircle, only for quadrilaterals. Now a parallelogram, because these sides both have to be parallel, and this side has to be parallel with this one down here. You have congruency. That means this angle is the same as this angle. This angle is the same as this angle. This angle and this angle must add to be 180. And the same with this angle and this angle. They have to add to be 180, which means the total degree is still 360 for that parallelogram. All right, I'm going to pause and switch my camera so that you can see my hands for the next part. All right, so now I'm going to, with a protractor, do these four problems 7 through 10. So some things that we have to remember about a protractor that we went over in class. The important parts are we measure from the 0. So you see how on the bottom of my protractor I have a 0 and a 180. That it just is so that whether or not you're right-handed or left-handed, you can measure from either side and with either hand. But I of course always start measuring from 0. So I'm measuring from this line, not the end of the protractor. I'm measuring from that line. The other really important part of a protractor that I have to remember from class is the vertex, which I'll go over what the vertex is here in a minute, goes in my viewfinder. Okay, so if you have this is my viewfinder for this one, this circle. I got to make sure I can see that vertex in there. Some protractors have a dot. See my dot in this one? That's what I want to see my vertex in that circle. And some of them don't have a circle. If you have the paper one, it doesn't have a circle, but it has a point in which all the lines kind of converge. That is where I want my vertex to be in the middle of all these blue lines. If you're using the paper one, what I suggest is poking a hole right there. It makes it a lot easier. All right, so this first one, I'm going to do a little estimating first. I know that this has to be smaller than a 90 degree because a 90 degree is a vertical and a horizontal line, and this one's clearly smaller than that. So I know it has to be smaller than a 90 degree, okay? All right, I want you to be able to see all of this, but let me just zoom in for a minute so you can see this one. Okay. All right, so you can see there, this is my 90, and this one's obviously smaller than a 90. Okay, so let's go ahead and measure. All right, so the vertex is where the two lines come together. That's my vertex. So when I measure, I want to put my viewfinder of my protractor right there. Now, my line, my blue line on this one, it's blue on the worksheet to give you a starting. I need to line it up with the line on my protractor that lines up with the 0. On this particular protractor, it's a dashed line. This one, it's a solid line. All protractors are slightly different. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure up to this. Now, I like this protractor because I have an arm that will help me measure. So I put the arm on that line, and I see that I'm right here at 60 degrees. I want to measure the 0, where the 0 is. So I'm doing my bottom set of lines because I'm measuring from 0. Okay, so this one is what I thought, less than 90. It's a 60-degree angle. Okay, now remember, measuring for protractor, it's kind of an art. If you're a little bit off, as long as you're plus or minus 5 from me, you're good. So 55 to anywhere from 55 to 65. All right, here's my vertex. I'm going to put that in my little viewfinder. I like to make a dot. It makes it easier for me to notice it inside my viewfinder. You see that little dot in there now? All right, now I need to line up my dashed line with my bottom line of my angle, and I'll line my arm up with the other line. All right, so now I have 10, and I'm going to count each line past 10, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I have a 15-degree angle here. Remember, plus or minus 5, so you could have 10 to 20 and still be pretty correct. It's not as precise, but like I said, this is an art. And if you don't have this arm, it is really hard to do. So let me do this one without an arm and show you what I mean. So I'm going to put my vertex in the hole, and I'm going to line up the line with the 0. And I am going to about here on my protractor, which is roughly 64 degrees. 74 degrees, sorry. Sorry. I'm reading the wrong way. I was going to say, this is way bigger than a 90. No, I'm about roughly in between 110 and 120. I don't even have little tick marks. So let me estimate using the tick marks from the above one. 11, 12, 13, 14. So it comes out to 114 degrees. But when I use my protractor with an arm, which is a slightly more precise one and easier to read, I'm at 110. Look, that's 4 degrees off. Okay, so I know you guys some of you are using the paper protractors, and they can be really far off. So this one, as long as you're somewhere between 105 and 115, we are good. All right, let's go to this one. I'm going to put the vertex in the viewfinder and line up my lines. This one's pretty easy. It comes out exactly at a vertical line. So it's 90 degrees. And remember that we have a little symbol for that. That's the symbol for 90 degrees. It's a little upside down right angle. All right, very good. So that's this worksheet. keep practicing it until you feel like you've got it, and I'll see you guys in class.